First off, I just want to thank you all for watching my videos, if you ever watched them, because it's been so much fun to do this, and I'm really excited to do more next year in 2013, so thank you for that. And I also meant to get this video out before the new year, but things came up yesterday, so it'll have to be today. Oh yeah! Les Miserables. Now, before I start anything into this review about what I did and didn't like about it, I loved the old movie with Liam Neeson and Jeffrey Rush. It's not the musical, it's a complete just movie. There's no singing involved, I don't believe. And it was great. I loved it. I loved the story. I loved all about it. I have not seen the Broadway play of Les Mis, which I've heard is fantastic. With that being said, this is what I thought of this new movie. Now, the new movie, directed by Tom Hooper, who is the director of The King's Speech, and I'm a huge fan of The King's Speech. I was actually glad it won Best Picture. After I rewatched it, I was like, okay, yeah, that was better than Inception. Like, when it came to Best Picture winning kind of movies. So I was okay with that winning Best Picture. So I was high stakes for this guy. I mean, he better produce a great movie. And from some aspects, this was a masterpiece of a movie. From the directing standpoint, and the visuals, and what he had involved, it was fantastic. The cinematography was just excellent. The way the actors in this movie sang was just awesome. This is one of the very first movies, if not the first, that the whole cast sang while they acted. It wasn't pre-recorded and dubbed over or lip-synced. It was all they sang. What you saw on screen was them really singing right then, which was unheard of. And so that's what makes it that much more intense, and you feel like they really mean it, because they do. They're singing it as they're acting. That also is an issue with the movie that I have, is the singing. There is so much singing in this movie that it gets a little boring. Now, I love musicals. I love Singing in the Rain, I love A Sound of Music, I love Sweeney Todd, but all those are about 70% singing, 30% dialogue. This is 99.3% singing, 0.7% dialogue, okay? There's this much dialogue, like 6 words in the whole movie. Whew, that's a lot of singing, and I know they tried to follow the Broadway play, but from a strict movie standpoint, the movie I think would have had more impact with just a few of the lines being delivered. And I only mean the few lines that are, like, important. Like, the really emotional lines when they're talking, I think it would have just been delivered better if he would have just said it to him, you know? If Russell Crowe's character, instead of singing it to Hugh Jackman, would have just said it. I think it would have just meant more. And so that's the one issue I have with it, but you know what they're trying to do, and they did what they wanted to do excellently. So I have no issue with how they did it, or why they did it, but I personally wasn't a fan of that much singing. Now, on the other hand, some of the singing in this movie is flawless. Okay, Hugh Jackman delivers the best performance of his career, which is saying a lot because he's had some great performances, but this is excellent. His acting is solid. He's the only actor this year that if Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't win for Lincoln, it better be Hugh Jackman that wins. If it's anybody else, I'm going to be upset because those two guys delivered flawless performances. And then you have Anne Hathaway. Okay, I might get some crud for some of this, but hear me out. Anne Hathaway's performance is one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life. Up there with Natalie Portman for Black Swan a couple years ago. I mean, we're talking really good performance. And I would give her the Oscar right now if she was in the movie more than 1/5 of the whole movie. I mean, she's in it for this long. And it's like, after she sings her, I Dreamed a Dream, it was like, oh my goodness, give her the Oscar. But then it was like, oh, she's not in the movie anymore. For like 2 hours, she is no longer in the movie. And I was like, you can't give an Oscar to somebody that's in the movie that little. And then you might bring up, yeah, but Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs won, and he was only in the movie for 15 minutes. There's a difference there. One, Anthony Hopkins' performance was something else out of this world, okay? Not that Anne Hathaway's isn't, but Anthony Hopkins was involved in the movie more than Anne Hathaway. After the first half hour, you forget Anne Hathaway was even in the movie because the story progresses and it goes on without her. And that's no fault of the movie or anything. That's just the way it is. Whereas Anthony Hopkins is in the movie the whole time. So there's a difference there. So I would give Anne Hathaway the Oscar, hands down, if she was in the movie longer. However, she's not in it very long, so I don't know if I could give her the Oscar. Now, if she wins, I will have no problem with that. I will have no problem if she wins. I'll be like, okay, she deserved it. But I personally could not vote for her because she's only in it this much. But her performance was excellent. Moving on. Other performances in this movie, Russell Crowe, I have mixed feelings about Russell Crowe, okay? When I first heard him sing in the movie, not a fan at all. I thought it was, it just didn't, all the other people have like these really crisp voices, and then he comes in with this lower voice, like gladiator style voice. I was like, that doesn't flow right. As the movie went on, I really felt like his singing really grew on me. And by the end, I was like, I really like this guy. So, starting out, it was weak, but I felt like it got really strong. The kid in it, it's like Marriott or something like that, I don't know his name. That kid surprised me. He was so good. I think he, honestly, other than, after the first half hour where Anne Hathaway and Hugh Jackman were just stealing the show, I felt like this kid really stole the show in that last 2 hours of the movie, or probably last hour and a half that he's in it. He was so good. I liked him. I loved Sacha Baron Cohen. I thought he was the perfect cast for his character. And Helena Bonham Carter. Both of those two were just excellent. I loved Cosette. I thought she did a great job. But my favorite person in all the movies was the little kid. Yeah, the little kid. He was awesome. He was hilarious. His singing was really, really good. And I just felt like he was my favorite character in the movie. I don't know why, but he was. Now, a few issues that I had with the movie. Again, going back to Russell Crowe. Little spoiler here, so if you haven't seen Les Mis, skip a minute ahead or so. Geoffrey Rush, when he died in the old movie, I felt so much like sadness. I was just like, oh my goodness, like wow, how powerful. When Russell Crowe died, I didn't care. And I know that's bad to say, but I was like, I didn't care about, and I think it had to do with the singing. I really do. I think it was because that build-up for him to, it was like, took too long or something. I don't know what it was, but I just loved how Geoffrey Rush did it. And I don't like how in this new one, Jean Valjean doesn't see him die. In the old one, he's standing right there and he says, and he tells him, I can't do this anymore, and he dies. I loved that. In this new one, now I don't know the Broadway play. That could be its own thing. But I was just like, things like that just didn't quite click for me. But, minimal things really. Now, this movie could still be nominated for 16 Oscars. Don't get me wrong. It could definitely. Will it win Best Picture? I don't think so. I really don't think it'll win Best Picture. It has a chance. It'll be up there in the top 3 or 4. But I just don't think it can beat Zero Dark 30 or Lincoln or Argo. I just really don't. Or even Life of Pi. I still love Life of Pi. It'll have 3 nominations for actors. You'll have Hugh Jackman, Anne Hathaway, and probably the kid, Marriott, or whatever his name is. I think those 3 will get nominated. I think Tom Hooper will definitely get nominated for Best Director, Best Cinematography, all that, costume. Yes, it'll be a huge winner when it comes to Academy Awards. It'll win all the costume stuff and all that, because that was excellent. For my pick for Best Picture, it's definitely not my favorite. It's not even in my top 10 favorite of the year. Best of the year? Yeah, it's in my top 10. That list will come out later. Favorite of the year? No, it's not my top 10 favorite, because even though I'm a huge fan of musicals, I didn't like that much singing. It felt like the movie could have ended so well. I read this article by Roger Ebert that talked about endings in movies and why they're kind of weird now. And they don't end when they should. Lincoln, there's a scene where he's walking away and he puts his hat on as he's walking down the hall. Perfect ending to the movie. And he doesn't end it. And then there's another like 15 minutes after that. And I was like, what? Same with Les Mis. Now, I know the musical's different and so on. But from a strict movie standpoint, when Hugh Jackman's talking to Marriott and he says, you know, you can marry my daughter or whatever, that whole scene, and he says, you must never talk of this, I felt like that should have been the end. Right really close to that. There was a spot right there that ended perfectly. But then they went on and they had Hugh Jackman in the building and I just was like, it's too long. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes of 100% singing. I was just like, okay, I understand what they're doing, and if you love the musical, you will adore this movie. I mean, it is like the perfect movie if you like the musical. However, if you don't like the musical or have not seen the musical like me, it was good. It was well done, but it was a little boring in some parts. After the movie, I felt like I wanted to go watch the musical instead. That's kind of the feeling I got. I was like, man, I really wish I was watching the play instead, because I just felt like it didn't quite, you know, it was like this close to being just phenomenal, but it wasn't. So that's my pick. I can't give it a number rating. For quality, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. There's still some issues with it, but it was so good. For likability, it's so dependent on who you are. I personally, I give it a 7 out of 10 for lovability, because it was like, I wouldn't want to go watch it again, but if somebody invited me, I'd probably go, you know, like, it's kind of weird. But if you like musicals and you like the story, then it's a 10 out of 10, you know, you'll love it. So this has been a weird review because the movie's very weird when it comes to how to review it. Overall, it's a great movie though. I mean, Great movie, but it's not my top 10 favorite of the year. I will be coming out with my, Best Picture winners and all my Oscar predictions sometime in the next month or so. Oscars aren't for a while still. And I hope to keep coming out with videos this whole next year, and I will come out with my most anticipated 5 movies coming out this next year. You can bet The Hobbit's going to be on there again, even if I didn't feel so strongly about the first one. Anyways, thanks for watching this review. Subscribe to my channel below, actually right here. Subscribe, right there. Check out all these other channels. They're all great reviewers also, and I watch all their videos, they're all great. If you liked the video, click like. If you didn't like it, then don't click like. Your choice. And until next time, have a great year. Peace.